Hi everybody, it's David from Doctors of Running, and today we are going to be talking about the HOKA Clifton 9. The Clifton series has always been that neutral daily trainer, that workhorse for all of the daily miles from HOKA. We are now on the 9th iteration, and there have been a couple big updates. So first update that I noticed right off the bat, upper. Upper is a little bit more accommodating. It's much more roomy in the midfoot, not to where you're swimming in it, but the Cliftons have always been a little bit narrow through the midfoot. They made it a little bit more accommodating through there. If I pull it up vertically, you can kind of see that right through there. So not as much encroachment through the midfoot or the navicular region there in the past, where I did get a little bit of irritation, a lot of irritation in the Clifton 6, didn't have Clifton 7. Clifton 8 seemed to be okay, but I still got a little bit of irritation. That was completely gone in the Clifton 9 for me. The mesh is a little bit more structured. It feels like it holds your foot a little bit better than the previous versions and a little less stretchy. The tongue is padded, holds it down. Everything feels pretty good about the upper overall. One thing I did notice is that the heel counter extends pretty far forward, kind of like in that early midfoot area there. So if I'm holding it here for the camera, you can kind of see right past that H there. Not a problem, but I did notice that when I locked the shoe down a little bit tighter, that kind of pulled in a little bit. So I got a little bit of pressure on the outside of my heel midfoot area there. No irritation, just something that I noticed that could probably be cleaned up in the future. But other than that, this is probably the best fitting HOKA Clifton that I've had. So that is something that's really nice in a progression. The other big update, the midsole. So it's a compressed molded EVA, so still EVA based, but they were able to make the shoe a little bit more resilient, a little bit more responsive, while still bringing the weight down. And so with them bringing the weight down, they were actually able to add 2 more millimeters of stack height to the shoe. I won't say that the stack height per se is noticeable, but the responsiveness is. It was one of the things I noticed right off the bat. It still has the balanced transitions of a HOKA Clifton, but a little bit more balance through that forefoot. There is the 2 millimeters of stack. The rubber does seem to be a little bit thicker than I remember in the HOKA Clifton 8, and I'm wondering if that kind of thickens up the ride a little bit, because for me, from a cushioning standpoint, it feels very similar to the Clifton 8, but I did notice that additional bounce from the shoe. So I got to give HOKA some credit, because there's a lot of updates that are in this shoe, but it does not feel like an overhaul by any means. Those that liked the Clifton series, especially the 8, will like the Clifton 9, but there's a couple things that make it a little bit more accommodating and a little bit more friendly to train in. The shoe does have a little bit more responsiveness, but I wouldn't quite reach for it for workouts. It just feels like that daily workhorse again with a little bit more bounce. So that is the HOKA Clifton 9.